Hey, yo, what up? It's Talib Kweli, the MCEO, and right about now you checking out classic and conscious hip-hop, that new reflection eternal with Elinaj, word up, on YouTuberadio.net.
Okay, go.
What happened with Baby Grind? I know you had some words from him earlier.
Yeah, I actually had left the Baby Grant issue alone, and then kind of out of nowhere, I saw Kweli on Twitter being like, "Fuck Baby Grant." And Kweli is not necessarily the person to come out of his face and start saying shit. Baby Grand, we essentially had a one-off deal with a deal for an EP, which was the bootleg of the bootleg, and then the album was supposed to be this week album. And after that, let's just say that things were not, they didn't really operate their business the way a business should be operated. Like, it's cool when people get paid money for doing stuff, which is always great, like money that you were promised. And yeah, Chuck Wilson, if you can get a good gauge of the kind of person that Chuck Wilson is, he wrote Soul Plane. So yeah, right. So let's just go with that. And yeah. So about I think like a year later, I went into the store and I was like, "What album is this?" And it's like The Orchestral Files, Jane Grae. I'm like, "Is this a mixtape or something?" But it's in like a regular. I think it was in like Virgin. And I picked it up. I was like, I guess I should buy my own album. So I bought it, and I went back, and it was a whole bunch of like acapellas from mixtape work, and just no, that was the second album. It was a collective of my appearances with other people, and then like a month later, they put out the bonus disc and made it cost $25. I was like, oh, wow. A year after that, I had myself on Google Alerts, and I believe it was November 21st, and I was like, oh, I have an album coming out, apparently, called Evil Genius. And I think I was on MySpace, and I found one of the producers from the group, and I was like, hey, hi, I'm Gene. Apparently we have an album coming out tomorrow. And he had no idea that I didn't know. They had no idea that I wasn't involved. So it went through a whole bunch of, cease and desist. It sucks because apparently it's actually an album that people really, really enjoy. And, it's a bunch of acapellas put to beats, which I've never heard the album. Kweli started beefing because apparently Baby Grand put out an album called Reflection Eternal. A week after Reflection Eternal dropped. So yeah, fuck Baby Grand. Okay. And to sum up.
So can we start from the beginning, from your work with Black Star to some of the work you did with Immortal Technique and lead into the albums that you released and the titles of them?
Yes, but I sense this is going to be fun, and I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, from the beginning, what work with Black Star?
Well, my introduction to you was on the bonus track that was on the Black Star album.
What song?
I don't remember the name of the song.
Is it Twice in a Lifetime?
Yes.
Okay, everybody, let's all stop here. Just hold my hand. About... Put one in it for everybody. About once a month, somebody tells me, "Thank you so much for the wonderful verse." My name is Jane Grae. That is Jane Doe.
Okay.
Because she says, "Hail Mary," matter of fact, "Hail Jane." I was actually really mad that they didn't call me for the Black Star album, so it kind of hurts a little bit inside when somebody says that. And I have to call Kweli, and I'm like, why? Still why? But it's not me.
Okay.
Feel free to chuckle. You don't sound anything alike. No. Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
So let's fast forward a little bit. All right. Well,
just some of my work with Rough Riders. Well, I'm sorry.
Well, one of the you did some productions for Immortal Technique.
I did.
Correct?
I did.
Okay. we talk about that a little bit, what the experience was like?
I met Technique at this bar called Sweet 16. And I think we were out, it was an open mic night, and it was like the end of the night, and it was a battle. And I'd never seen him before, never heard of him. And I guess some kid like really, really tried to go in on him. And I really wasn't paying attention the entire night until I just heard this dude just ripping, it was like he was verbally ripping his face off. And I turned around, I was like, who is this kid? So I went and I introduced myself. And we spoke for a second. He was like, I'm working on my album. I was like, good. I do beats. You should come by and listen and see if you like anything. And this is how long ago it was. It was a beat tape. It was like a cassette tape. And I think I left it like outside my door. And I was like, just pick what you want. And we became really, really fast friends after that. But that was the first time we got together. Beat tape.
What's some of the other production that you might have done that we might have heard?
Thriller, which he's like, I really hate you. I did, going back to the early days of like Natural Resource making records, I actually did Baseball, which is our first single. And I did a lot of stuff for making records for Pumpkinhead and for Bad Seed. So I was kind of like the beat slave upstairs, which I totally didn't mind. And then on Attack, I believe it was about 3 or 4 songs. But I stopped making beats for a while, but I generally think that, there's a difference between being a beat maker and a producer. So, I consider that I've definitely produced all of my albums and executive produced them. It's arranging and musical arrangement and sequencing and knowing how to create a song and create a mood. And I think that's, it's not just because there's a whole bunch of motherfuckers who can make beats and, send you a beat and you're like, it doesn't necessarily make you a producer. You make beats real good. That's kind of it.
Can you...
You're so intense.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background, your influences in hip-hop, what brought you to where you are today?
That's a really wide question. I don't know. It's always really hard for me to answer questions like that involve what kind of things were you involved in hip-hop, or what's the first thing you could... I don't know, just life in general. My parents are musicians, and I thought it was a normal life growing up, but, clearly it wasn't when you start to go to school and realize, that other people's parents have 9-to-5 jobs and you're weird. So I've been weird for a long time. And, it was kind of expected for me to go into some sort of artistic career. And I don't think it was that I chose hip-hop. It was, pretty much what was going on in the vibe in New York, and just the time that it was, the people I was around, and, destiny and fate and all that. So, hard question to answer. Is he not being really intense? Is it just me? He's being okay.
Is there anything about hip-hop music that you're displeased with?
Trying to narrow it down. I think what happened was that there was a generation and a half, mine included, of everyone who was really just going out for themselves and didn't care to look back and teach the kids what to not do, because we were so busy worrying about what the fuck was going to happen to us tomorrow. And, the way it goes in genres is, I sound like my mom, or older people who are being like, that's not music. Back in my day, see what was music was. And we have to stop doing that, because all it does is just it keeps creating a generation gap, and nobody understands each other, and there's no way to actually understand it. It needs to evolve, and understand that it evolves, but if you don't like what you're hearing, create something else. So right now, well, I think it's changing right now, and I think things are becoming more musically interesting, and people are willing to take risks and do collaborations, because everybody can't be out for themselves anymore. But less complaining, more creating would be my answer to things. It's not just fucking rap that's dumbed down. It's the world is dumbed down. So, me looking at it and be like, well, that's for stupid people. Well, everything is for fucking stupid people right now. But complaining doesn't help. Make fucking smarter music and find the people. There's clearly a market for smarter things. Just find it and create it, and don't be afraid to take the risk to do that. You can't. Are you just monopolizing the entire? He's like, and then.
Could you? Well, I want to know your opinion as to whether or not you feel that some sort of formal training is necessary in order to be a performing artist, not just hip hop, just being a professional artist, like an artist who lives off of what they do. Because I want to say that I read somewhere that for a short while you danced professionally for A3c.
I actually was, a dancer from 4 to about 17, and I was very young and the youngest person in the second company, and I kind of thought that was going to be my career. So this is like my second life, and I totally didn't see this coming at all. I don't. I think, training and knowledge in all forms is never hurtful to anything, and you never know when you're going to use it in life. But I don't think that discounts people just having a natural gift and a natural talent. You've never had any kind of training at all, and they get up there and you're like, "What? This is amazing." I think it can go both ways. I happen to think I'm an amazing cook. I do not have any formal training, but creatively and instinctively, I know what to do. So, I don't think it works with things like, say, learning the violin. Like, that's not, yes, formal training indeed. And I think people also discount formal training in the form of practice. Just paying dues is fucking formal training, which is why a lot of shit that you see, you're like, what the hell is going on? Because that's kind of been removed from the culture of everything, not just rap. So I always bring it back to, the concept of the Philharmonic. Like, you don't go to a Philharmonic show and you're like, I'm going to be in the Philharmonic tomorrow. I'm going to get me this violin. And then you go on, and then like 2 days later, you play. Yeah, exactly. It's retarded. So, yeah, realizing that natural talent is fine, but everything, whether it's formal training or not, is practice.
And did you spend some time at Columbia? Okay.
No, I spent some time at NYU.
Yeah.
About 3 months. And I didn't take my SATs, and I was pretty content with doing that because I knew I wasn't going to go to that kind of school. And then my mom started freaking out. She was like, "You're 16, come on, stop." Because, and so my mom started freaking out, and I was like, all right, I'll try out for a school. So I was like, let me try out for a really expensive they won't take me. And I ended up getting in. I did not expect that. And I was a music business major. And at that point, you know, growing up with musicians as parents, I pretty much knew everything. I was like, all right, I don't want to hear about ASCAP and press kits. I know this. Oh my God, this is boring. Also bad was that NYU is located Washington Square Park, which is pretty much where everybody hung out all day. So I'd be sitting in the building and everybody would be outside having fun. So yeah, that lasted about 3 months.
What would you say, I remember earlier in your career, you went by what? So what like the difference between, the difference between what and Jean Grae, like, are they still the same person? Or
Yeah. You know, it was kind of born out of a very sad and distressing moment. I actually partially lost my hearing in this ear on a trip, and that name came about. And it lasted through Natural Resource. And when I was saying that, you know, I want to move on and be a solo artist, I was like, I feel like I kind of need to come into my own. Also, because that fucking Nori song was out. Yeah. And it was really, really annoying. And the joke had kind of worn off after a while. You know, it was really hard introducing myself every time. You know, what's your name? What name? What's my name? What? It was the fucking Abbott and Costello routine. I just want something different. But yeah, same person and younger. You know, not necessarily musically understanding all the things, but hopefully, you know, I've gotten better. So hopefully Jean Grae is way better than what. Otherwise, I should just stop. Right? This is no fun.
My man asked, there was a time where you, I may be confused, you were going to remove yourself, it seemed, from hip-hop scene, or not do music anymore? I was hurt when I heard that, because I was really feeling the flow. You did a couple of songs with Talib that I heard. This was his, I don't know if it was his Right Now mixtape, or, it's Beautiful Struggle mixtape. You had a song up there, and I cannot remember what it's called, but you basically killed it. You slaughtered it.
Was it Phoenix? It was a really, really long verse.
It might have been. It was something with like dun 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 dun. Yeah, you murdered that, and then you were done. They said the same. That was the word.
I was like, peace out.
Yeah. So what was that? What happened? Like what brought that on?
I had been thinking of quitting for years. And I just thought of this because I was listening to some of Genius. And that trip that I took right before we recorded, I was like, okay, I'll give it a fucking shot. I'll see how I still feel about it if I go and record. And so that initially was my first, I'm fucking out of here, whatever. And we ended up doing that album. And what was this, like 2 years ago? Or like a year and a half ago?
I tried to block it out of my notes.
I'm sorry for the trauma. I tried to block it out too. 2008? I was just kind of, it wasn't anything, you know, I read a lot of stuff, and I think we even spoke on the phone, and I was like, look at all the press, it's like I'm dead, this is awesome. I gotta retire all the time. Oh my God. It wasn't that I was, you know, disillusioned with the industry, which is, of course, what I read, and then reading all the other things, which were just insulting. And they were like, she's just emotional. Fuck that broad. I'm like, you might as well just been like, get off your period. Fuck quitting. I'm like, okay, so maybe it was something else. And, you know, literally been doing this for half my life. And I was like, all right. There's a lot of other things I want to do. And right now, this is not necessarily the most lucrative, and yet I continuously give it 125% rip out my soul and throw it on there. And I'm giving this, and I'm not getting all of that back. Now, what retarded person would continue to do that when I know there's other things that I'm amazing at, that I can feel some reciprocity in life? Why would I not grant myself the happiness of doing that? And shit, it was really fun. Now it's Miami. And I thought about it for a while, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to have to learn how to multitask. It's fine to be able to have that and then find the other things in life that make you happy as well. Because I don't think I'm ready to be done. Not for anyone else, not for fans, not because people feel like I owe them something, because I feel like I haven't said everything I want to say yet in the way I want to say it. Yeah, so that was all. You know, making decisions in life about, and some days you just fucking hate your job. And you're like, this fucking job sucks and there's no fucking benefits. Why the fuck do I work here? And, you know, I sit in the lunchroom, and then they keep hiring new people, and all the new people get promoted. They're still in the same job. What the fuck? So it was one of those days.
So you weren't done. You just kind of took a sick day.
I mean, that morning I was kind of fucking done. You know, I walked into the office and pretty much did the, you know, who's coming with me, except I didn't want anyone to come with me. But no, I was done. Then I wasn't. Also, I'm a woman. I fucking change my mind all the fucking time. I'm not doing any songs tonight. See how that happened? I am.
I have two questions. First of all, I'm with Soul Aesthetic and Brave Music. We shooting a documentary on Jay Dilla. So the first question would be just your experience with Jay Dilla, how his music has affected you, and the second part would be, I just found out that you were a producer, and I know you work with Ninth One over there, so this probably could go to both of y'all. But how is it being a producer and working with a producer like Ninth, and vice versa, when Ninth, you work with people like Jean Grae and David Banner? How do you find that? Are they more in tune or engaged in the beat making? Are there any bumping of heads that go on in the studio?
I mean, I can honestly say during Gene's took us 4 days. Right? Lots of violin and Ice House, Thunderbird. It's amazing to see this. Right?
It is.
It's amazing to see this.
I'm a piece of work.
But I can honestly say Jean is one of the cats that I work with that she totally understands that, you know, what I'm trying to do. It's not a whole lot of, you know, back and forth about a beat. Murs is the complete opposite. Complete opposite. That's a fight. Every song is a fight. But
yeah, even I think Don't Rush Me was the first song.
Yeah, Don't Rush Me was the first song.
We finished that so quickly. Like I would go to say, you know, put another track of something here, and it was already there. And we've always kind of been on the same page.
Same page when it comes to stuff. Yeah. You know, it's the trick with Jean is getting her to the studio for long periods of time. If I can get her in there for 5 days,
you can
come out
have
with
90 albums.
You can come out with records. Because she writes so fast to the point where somebody will be recording a song, she writes a song, record that, write another one, and they're still working on that first. Like it's amazing to see this, you know. So she's probably one of the most prolific writers that I've ever seen. Like we can go to the studio right now and come out before the night is over with like 5 songs that fast. It's like we think about this. Songs, not just rap, like songs. We do the hook and this is straight songs, you know, because what we do, I always say all the time, like, you know, get them into a basketball game and you see how fluid they move on the basketball court. It's like look easy to them. You know what I'm saying? So when you are born to do this and you do it like it's breathing, it's hard, but this is what we do for it. It's how we do it.
I think we both work, and we were talking about this with Farrah too. We both work from a sense of being in the future already. So like when you're listening to a beat, and even the way we were picking stuff and being like, this is a number 11. So we're already in the video and accepting the fucking award. And we've done all of that, and we haven't even done the song yet. So it's kind of like working backwards as if it's already happened.
As far as the Dilla thing, did you direct it over there to Dustin and the Kango hat?
Yes.
This is as far as the Dilla, because you got the better camera.
I feel like that my camera is
Yeah, hey.
I never had the pleasure of working with Dilla when he was with us, and I was always a huge fan. I get really emotional about certain beats, and there's only like a few rap beats that really do that to me. I think we were listening to one. It was the Crooklyn Dodgers beat, that Primo beat, the bells. And like I can just have that on repeat and go through hours and hours of thoughts in my mind. And Dilla with me, I absolutely love chord progressions and changes. And he had, things I like about Dilla are not necessarily what I find other people like. And I think it was, stuff like Stakes is High and Running that the emotion in the chord changes got me every time. And I was asked to do a tribute to Dilla and ended up having to go through like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of beats and then try to narrow them down until we had like a half-an-hour show. And I got really, really sick and ended up not being able to do the damn show. But in the space of all that, this beat came up. And I was like, I know I've heard this before. And I asked someone, and they said it was for a D'Angelo remix. And I couldn't turn the beat off for 4 days. And as soon as it came on, I started doing the hook in my head, just out of nowhere. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do this song. Which ended up being the song called Sucker for Love, which it's me and Paulie and Farrah. And one of the most vulnerable, I think, approaches that everyone has taken. And I think it was really, really inspired by the vulnerability of the beat. And that's when you know you have a great producer, when the beat talks to you and tells you what to do. And Dilla had that. And not a lot of people have that being in tune with someone without even meeting them or being able to draw things out of them. So I'm really excited that, to have that track on this album. So it's like, finally got to work with Dilla in a really beautiful way.
What would be some of your, let's say, guilty pleasures? Like, so I happen with
Billy Ocean.
so I happen with Follow when you did the Gucci Man song, how people just really were upset about that. So who are some of the artists you would work with that you think your fans would just be irate?
Somebody asked me, and I was like, really? I was like, you out of your fucking mind? Hell yeah, I'd do a song with Gucci Man. That'd be the funniest session ever. Why would I want to not do that? You crazy? I'm in this for the comedy. Who did I say? I think I was actually defending him, and I was like, if you think that if Miley Cyrus and her gazillion dollars is going to call me tomorrow, and I'll be like, get out of here, Miley Cyrus. I was like, I will do that song, and then